Today, I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment.
Well, here we go. Democrat Representative Shri Thanedar has decided to introduce articles of impeachment towards Donald Trump. Now, I don't want to give away too much information. I want him to speak for himself, but just so you know, this is all over the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case. You know, the illegal immigrant that was deported down to El Salvador because he was an illegal immigrant. Let's get into this.
This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmar Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment. Article 1. Obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power. From denying due process to unlawful deportations, Trump defied court orders. Article 2. Taking away Congress's power of the purse. Trump dismantled agencies and froze funds without permission from Congress. Article 3. Abuse of trade powers and international aggression. He imposed damaging tariffs and threatened military invasions of our allies. Article 4. Violation of First Amendment rights. He has retaliated against journalists, attorneys, and critics for exercising their right to free speech. Article 5. Creation of an unlawful office establishing the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and giving Elon Musk unconstitutional power over our government and personal data. Article 6. Bribery and corruption. He has dismissed criminal cases and solicited payments from foreign governments and coerced legal settlements for personal and political gain. Article 7. Tyrannical overreach. Finally, and most importantly, he is attempting to consolidate unchecked power and erode the constitutional limits of the presidency. In this country, we have presidents, not kings. That's not just misconduct, it's impeachable misconduct. This isn't leadership, it's tyranny. If we let this stand, we are saying the president is above the law, that the United States Constitution is optional. I won't be silent, and I'm calling on all my colleagues, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents to stand up with me. Enough is enough. Donald J. Trump must be impeached.
Now look, let's be honest, we all should have seen this coming, especially if the media and Democrats have been talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia for the longest time. Now it makes sense why members of Congress actually went all the way down to El Salvador, even during the week when Congress was on break and they were supposed to be home and doing their jobs back home. This clip right here came out a day before this announcement.
Why are there no calls for impeachment? This is unacceptable. I will not live in an authoritative country, and neither will any of these people. You can do more. I like you, and I will vote for you if you are brave, and you do what we need. We need him impeached. We need him removed.
There is no doubt that this president's conduct has already exceeded any prior standard for impeachment by the United States House of Representatives. I agree with you But as I said at the beginning, I also have no choice but to be candid with you about the situation that we face and the tools that are at our disposal. As strongly as I agree with you, ma'am, and I regret if this is an unwelcome response, but my job is to be honest with you. The only way to achieve what you want to achieve is to have a majority in the United States House of Representatives.
Your colleague from Georgia, Senator Jon Ossoff, told voters at a town hall that he strongly agrees that President Trump should be impeached. Do you agree with him? Would that be a priority if Democrats were to take back Congress?
Well, look, right now, President Trump is violating rule of law in every way. And we're fighting him every single day in every way. And our goal is to show the American people over and over again, whether it's the economy, whether it's tariffs, whether it's Russia and overseas, and whether it's rule of law, how bad he is. And, you know, 2 years is too far away to predict. Our job is day to day to day to show who Trump is, what he is doing, and it's having an effect, as your poll showed. The American people are realizing.
You're not saying no.
Look, it's too far away to even judge.
Okay.
So as you can see, even Chuck Schumer has a little bit of hesitancy to want to impeach anyone, let alone Donald Trump. However, because he's a Democrat, he has to say, of course I wouldn't mind doing the impeachment. Democrats have to say that. But what's also interesting is we have a lot of conflicting information as far as how united really is this Democrat Party.
Former top Democrat in the Florida State Senate quitting the party and giving up his leadership job. Jason Pizzo saying, quote, the Democratic Party in Florida is dead.
That partisanship holds us back rather than propels us forward. Less gets done, not more. Our constituents are craving practical leaders, not political hacks.
Florida State Senator Jason Pizzo joins us now live. Senator, great to have you on the show. I also wanted to point out that you have said that the Democratic Party screams, quoting here, anarchy, then demands amnesty. Are you talking, sir, in general, or are you talking about specific examples?
Specific examples, Trace. Thanks for having me back on. I was here 3 weeks ago, and you're a bad influence because I left my party since my last appearance on your show. We'll see. Stay tuned for the next one. No, it's specific. I'm a former homicide prosecutor in Miami-Dade County. You know, and there's always bending over backwards to be critical of law enforcement, not to back the blue, to find some excuse or some, you know, talking your way out of it as it relates to amnesty for people who commit crimes. So we've had bills recently, people squatting in people's homes or hotels, transient occupancy in hotels, and the Democrats just, you know, keep showing up saying, you know, have mercy. But to some extent, you know, enough is enough. And that's where we are.
Now, to make things even worse for Democrats, they can't even agree on what kind of leadership or what kind of people they want in the Democrat Party. If anything, Democrats can really be called out for being so ununited and basically hypocritical. Everything that Republicans say they want, now Democrats want.
That one's going to stick with me for a while because that's pretty harsh. But, Don, it is not all good news for Democrats. We have to point this out because the Washington Post poll shows Americans still trust Trump over congressional Democrats when it comes to dealing with the country's major problems. And they see Democrats as being a bit more out of touch. How did Democrats convince voters they can and will fight for them?
Well, Democrats are looking for a champion, and I continue to suggest here and other places that that champion is likely going to come from somewhere outside of politics. I don't know if Stephen A. Smith is the answer, but I can tell you that the American people are looking for that muscular, kind of masculine-based answer. And, you know, we honestly have nobody right now on the left with the individual magnitude to match the bully pulpit of the presidency. So I think the search is going to go on for some time. What does that look like in terms of manifesting itself in 2028 candidates? I'm not exactly sure, but I do know there's no individual member of the House or individual member of the Senate right now who would fit the bill because we simply don't have the significance of platform to match the White House. Glad to see Hakeem and Cory Booker out there doing their thing right now, but it's hard to suggest that that will match even the magnitude of a basic White House press conference. So Democrats, I think that the bench is open, and broadly we're looking for leadership, and it should be extremely inclusive and provide a broad opportunity for a lot of people to step up, even if that means they're coming from outside of the traditional realms of political.
You know, Matthew, as we're looking at this live picture being provided to us, what do you think of these two lawmakers and the efficacy of what they're doing? Is this going to sync up with people? Or are they going to say, oh, yeah, we see the Democrats doing what we want them to do?
Well, though, that's a good question, and I don't know. I think what Cory Booker did in his, 24-hour-long filibuster, I think, motivated people, especially the base in this, and made people pay attention. I think these kind of things are much better than speeches on the House floor or the Senate floor. I think those things are so distant from where Americans are, but these kind of things relate more to the American public in the course of this. And I would say one thing about those poll numbers about Trump versus the Democrats. This isn't going to be Trump versus the Democrats. This is going to be Democrats versus the Republicans. And if somebody's unhappy with two people, they're going to vote the people that hold the office out before they take it out on the people that don't hold the office. And so Donald Trump has always been successful in his own reelects. And no matter what he says, he's not going to have another one. It's the Republicans, as Susan said, it's the Republicans in the House and the Senate who are going to take the brunt of this, what Donald Trump has done.
There's another faction here to discuss, Susan. With Trump losing support with some key groups, he has only 33% approval among independents. So talk about that and the role they may play.
Well, I think that those independents are critical for the Democrats to take the midterm elections, especially in the House. However, going to your question to Don, what are the Democrats going to offer? And that is something we're seeing a little bit of pushback or give and take within the Democratic Party. You have Bernie Sanders talking about oligarchy and Senator Slotkin from Michigan saying we need to move off of that message. So the Democrats definitely need to, I like what Don said, be a bigger tent. It can't be extreme left or moderate that you one or the other. It has to somehow weave something into both.
Okay. Don, Susan, and Matthew, please stay with me because later this hour we are going to discuss something that is happening politically which makes...
All right, if you are still watching this video, I really do appreciate it. As far as these impeachments, I think it's the biggest waste of time, and I think it's the best way right now for Democrats to try and stand out from others. Again, there's a lot of internal conflict on whether or not they should even be trying to help out Kilmar Abrego Garcia, so we'll see what happens. I'm really curious how the Trump administration is going to respond to all of this. It would be funny if they don't even react to it. So thank you guys for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.